Not many expected Physics Wallah to be the first Indian edtech company to make it to the stock market. Because just 2 years ago, the company was in the middle of messy tutor defections, offline stumbles, and questions about whether its restless expansion was even sustainable. And yet, earlier this week, it filed an updated prospectus with SEBI for a 3,820 crore rupee IPO, putting itself on track to become the country's first publicly listed edtech company. The plan is ambitious. Most of the money raised will go into expanding its offline footprint, covering lease costs and upgrading servers and cloud systems, and investing in subsidiaries like Utkarsh. More than 700 crore rupees is set aside for marketing alone. The founders, Alakh Pandey and Pratik Maheshwari, will each sell a small part of their own holdings, but they'll still retain a dominant stake in the company. Now, this is a remarkable milestone for a company that began in 2016 as a YouTube channel. Pandey, a physics teacher then from Prayagraj, filmed lessons on a borrowed phone, teaching for free what bigger edtechs charge tens of thousands of rupees for. That strategy, affordable, accessible test prep, quickly turned him into a cult figure for millions of students. But the very thing that built Physics Wallah is also its biggest risk. The company is inseparable from its founder, Alakh Pandey. His name is on classrooms, on products, on even its AI platform, Alakh AI. And as the company steps into the unforgiving world of public markets, investors will want to know, can an edtech which is so tied to one man survive the scrutiny of life as a listed company? Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host Snigdha Sharma, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Rachel Varghese and I will come to you with one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Thursday, the 11th of September. A little less than 2 years ago, on the same podcast, I told you about the story of Physics Wallah's restless expansion. How Alakh Pandey went from a one-man YouTube channel solving JEE physics problems to building India's youngest and only profitable edtech unicorn. But that rapid rise was not without turbulence. Tutors defected in a dramatic fashion, offline centers began to show cracks, and rivals circled its core stronghold of NEET and JEE prep. Physics Wallah was no longer just a master of one subject. It was trying to become an everything edtech. And the question that we left hanging was, would this ambition cost them their edge? Well, fast forward to today, and that question has only gotten bigger. Because Physics Wallah isn't just expanding anymore, it is going public. And that means investors, regulators, and the market at large will finally get a clear look at whether its fast and furious growth is sustainable. Or is it just smoke and mirrors? To understand how we got here, let's rewind a little. Back in its early days, Physics Wallah was a disruptor. At a time when Byju's, Unacademy, and Vedantu were charging 20 to 30,000 rupees for their courses, Pandey gave away his lessons for almost free. His videos were quirky, performative, but razor-focused on exam tricks. And they drew in the masses who could not dream of paying premium coaching fees. It wasn't just cheap, it was democratizing. For the first time, students outside of India's metros felt that they had an equal shot at cracking the toughest of examinations. Other players had tinkered with this idea. For example, Doubtnut, which leaned on automated doubt solving as a low-cost model. But Pandey's move was more radical. To give away the most expensive part of edtech, which was quality video teaching at near zero cost. That crashed acquisition costs and created a grassroots following for him. And from there, the growth story is well documented. The YouTube channel snowballed into a sprawling edtech empire complete with offline centers. And unlike its rivals, Physics Wallah did not wait for the pandemic hangover to push it offline. It jumped almost immediately. But with that expansion came new headaches. Offline centers demanded more resources, teachers clashed with management, and competitors sharpened their knives. Physics Wallah was no longer just the scrappy insurgent anymore. It had to play the establishment game. And through it all, the edtech maintained a careful image. It was still the student's friend, still the homegrown hero, still a little scrappy. Its media narrative stayed tightly controlled, sullied only by the occasional viral YouTube spat between loyalists and defectors. Now, as it prepares for life on the public markets, the question shifts. How does Physics Wallah want to present itself to investors? Here is the latest on it. Physics Wallah has filed its updated DRHP with SEBI. In plain English, that is the regulatory go ahead for its IPO. The company is looking to raise nearly 3,820 crore rupees, and most of it will come from fresh shares, while Alakh Pandey and co-founder Prateek Maheshwari will each sell a small slice of their holdings. And the money is not just for show. A large chunk is earmarked to open new offline centers and cover long leases. Another portion will flow into subsidiaries like Xylem and Utkarsh, and some will go into cloud infrastructure with a heavy sum into marketing as well. In other words, Physics Wallah is telling the market, we are here to expand and we know where the money is going. Now, it is worth remembering though that this was not their first move. Back in March, Physics Wallah filed confidentially for a bigger IPO, about 4,600 crore rupees. And that let them fine-tune details behind closed doors before going public with the updated filing. And now that SEBI has cleared it, the documents are out in the open. So, what do these documents tell us? For one, the financials do look sharper. In the last financial year, income rose to nearly 2,900 crore rupees, up from about 1,940 crore rupees in the year before. Losses also shrank dramatically from over 1,000 crore down to just a couple of hundred crores. Investors do like trajectories, and this one does tell a cleaner story. Ownership also remains steady. Pandey and Maheshwari still dominate with more than 40% each. Plus, big names like Westbridge, Hornbill, and Lightspeed hold smaller slices. And on the IPO front, Kotak, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Axis are lined up as the lead managers. Now, of course, filings also force a company to show its not so good side. And here, Physics Wallah flagged something unusual: student security. The DRHP specifically cites incidents like the 2023 viral video of a staffer pushing a student and another where a student threatened a teacher over a video call. In both cases, staffers were removed. But in the cold text of regulatory filings, those incidents now live forever and may weigh on investor perception. So that is the setup. From a restless expansion in 2023 to a cleaned up, market ready IPO pitch in 2025. The numbers show progress, the plan looks ambitious, and the risks are acknowledged. But there is still one thing at the center of this story: one man, one brand, one myth. Alakh Pandey. More on him in the next segment. So, at the heart of it all is still Alakh Pandey. And that is both Physics Wallah's greatest strength and its biggest risk. We've seen how dangerous it can be to build a company around one founder. Byju's lived that story, and every decision funneled through one man, no matter what the evidence was. Physics Wallah looks a little different. Pandey may be the superstar, but he has shown that he can take advice from Prateek Maheshwari, his business side co-founder, and from investors steering expansion into new categories. Still, the reliance is heavy. Even the AI suite is branded Alakh AI, as though the technology itself needs his stamp to be credible. From the first funding round to today's IPO, Pandey's name has been both a superpower and a vulnerability. So the question is, what happens if he ever steps away? Can Physics Wallah survive without its Wallah? For now, the company seems confident. The IPO is very much tied to Alakh's persona, but Pandey himself is not cashing out big. And that signals his long-term commitment. And beyond the man, there is also the mission. Physics Wallah knows exactly what it is: an exam-cracking machine. Students come for fast tricks, concise revisions, and pep talks. It is not about slow, immersive learning. It is about passing the test, and it makes no apologies about it. But here's the nuance. Every so often, in between the formulas and the shortcuts, you will see Pandey consoling students who did not score well or encouraging those burnt out by the grind. And that human touch, the sense that somebody cares, is part of Physics Wallah's magic. Even as it experiments with new business lines like career tech and upskilling, those feel more like window dressing. They may please investors by showing a full student to career pipeline, but the real story, the beating heart of Physics Wallah, is still test prep. The question now is how much investor influence will shape the next chapter. Will Physics Wallah double down on its proven exam model, or will it lean harder into new categories to sell a bigger growth story? One thing is clear, it is willing to be agile. It has adopted AI tools quickly, though still wrapped in Alakh's branding, and it is willing to flex its clout. Remember when Pandey went to the Supreme Court in 2024 over NEET mismanagement? That wasn't quite lobbying, it was a public stand, and it made Physics Wallah look less like a company and more like a student champion. And that dual identity, part VC backed business, part teacher with a heart, might just be its sharpest pitch. But IPOs are not just about stories, they are about sustainability, and here the test is tougher. Can Physics Wallah keep its offline empire running smoothly? Can it manage the risks of being a brand tied so tightly to one man? Can it show investors that its growth is real and not just a myth? So, here we are. A homegrown edtech born out of affordability and hustle, now stepping into the glare of the public markets.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings, and a full subscription offers daily, long-form feature stories, newsletters, and a whole bunch of premium podcasts. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the website. Today's episode was hosted and produced by my colleague Snigdha Sharma and edited by Rajiv CN.